Hello all. So I hope you have been seeing the comparison of Azure versus AWS versus OCI. In this series, we'll cover the database comparison and go into similar videos. Apart from showing the comparison, also show a little bit of demonstration so the concepts are a lot more clear. So please like, subscribe, share our channel, and without further ado, let's get into it. As you can see on my screen, what we have is we have the database service mapping here, and we can get into the first one is the managed relational database system, which provides automated administration, scaling, and maintenance of traditional SQL databases, thus allowing the users to focus on application development without managing the underlying infrastructure. So it's a managed database, essentially. That's what it is. What are the options? In AWS, we have RDS, which is Relational Database Service, and also Aurora is part of the RDS. I just kind of put it as a flavor. In Azure, you have a lot of options as well. You have a SQL database, you have Oracle database, you have database of MySQL, but again, all of that falls into the SQL database option. In Oracle we all know is a very popular Oracle database itself, but it has the Oracle Autonomous Transaction Processing as well as the MySQL database options as well. So you have pretty much every option that is there in each cloud. So let's check out how each one looks in the console. Okay, so here we are in the console, and let's go to RDS in AWS. You will have the RDS option, and you would get this GUI here, where you could come here, you could click on the DB instance, and if I have to choose create a database, now this is where you would see the options, this is where you could have the standard create. You will have the Aurora, which is MySQL, which is PostgreSQL, the traditional MySQL. The difference between Aurora and MySQL, what they say is that what AWS says, they have tuned Aurora for AWS, and it's a lot better performant compared to the traditional. So if you are on AWS, I think it should be a no-brainer for you to stick with Aurora if you have to go with Postgres or MySQL. And you see you have MariaDB, Oracle, and you have Microsoft SQL Server, as well as IBM DB2. I don't think the other cloud providers tried, but this is what you could do. You could follow the wizard. It's a pretty standard setup, and spin up your infrastructure, your database. Let's check out the Azure one and how we can create the infrastructure. So in here, okay, so this is the one I was looking for, SQL database. Yeah, so if you come here in SQL database, and now what you could do is you could create a SQL database, and you could have this option that you could create your database setting here, and you want it for production, and you could choose the server that you want or the setting. And over here, you could try the networking as well as the other options. Now this is one option, right, where you could create your database, you could configure your database, you could have it for production and not, and you could have the settings. So this is a SQL database, but let me show you the other options that is for the database, where you could see you have MySQL option here, as well as you have the SQL databases. You also have the Postgres should be there. You have over here, you see you have these options, database for Postgres, SQL Server. They have kind of created it separate. But let me see if there's another better way to show you the difference here. If I go to more services, because I just wanted to show all the options so you have a better understanding of the databases. If I come here in databases, so I think this should be the much better one, SQL managed instances. And if I choose this one, I could try creating, and let me see if I can get the same similar GUI as you get in AWS. Yeah, probably not. Probably I think you just need to go there, and you need to have this options here. But you see, but I think you get the point, right? You have this Oracle, you have the SQL managed instances, and then you have the other options. These are the NoSQL databases. I won't get into detail, but you have pretty much all options, right? You have Oracle, DB2 is not there. AWS has it, but again, this is where you could see you have PostgreSQL and other database options. So let's check out how does it look in Oracle as well. So in Oracle, and you could choose your database option. Let me go instead of searching. Let me go here and show. You could come here and select the database options, and this is where you would see you have these different options. You have MySQL, you have PostgreSQL, and you have the Oracle database options available here as well. So you have the MySQL Postgres, which is there for most of the ones, right? As well as if you have to stick for Oracle, this is where you can have the option here. But let me see if there is an option for SQL Server, because that is again a pretty popular SQL Server option from Microsoft. This is where you can get from the marketplace, but doesn't seem to be a native service by Oracle that you could use. But again, you could get the SQL Server standard, you could have the VM, you could deploy it, and that shouldn't be a problem. But like not a native service, but you should have this option available here. Now let's get to the NoSQL option. We compared the SQL option, and so you saw how exactly you could go about it. And let's check the other option for NoSQL. Now a NoSQL essentially is a category of database systems that are designed for handling unstructured or semi-structured data that provides flexible schemas and offers scalability and performance advantages over traditional relational databases. What are our options in each cloud? In AWS, we have DynamoDB, a pretty popular service. In Azure, it's called table storage. Cosmos DB is equivalent of DynamoDB, I would say, but Cosmos DB is a lot more advanced, and I'll show you all those things. In Oracle Cloud, you have NoSQL Cloud Database Service, as well as Oracle Autonomous JSON Database. So let's check out each and how does it look like. Okay, so here in the console, in AWS, you choose DynamoDB, and it's going to be pretty straightforward as well. It's the thing complex. You come here, you select the tables, you can create a table, you can give a table name like a test, YouTube, you provide the primary key, and primary key essentially is the table's primary key, the sort key, like it's the description itself over here. I think for me to read, a lot of documentation available how you could go about doing it. If any questions, comments, drop in it, and of course we can get into the nitty-gritties of it. But again, this is a very standard setup. It's schema like, you could advance the schema like in the sense like you insert a new record, which has additional fields. The table is going to adapt with the new ones, unlike a traditional database where you have to do an alter statement. This is nothing like that. DynamoDB, it's a NoSQL setup. It's a very flexible schema setup that could be used. And you have additional options that are there. You have the advanced, the provision capacity or on demand, and you can also create global secondary indexes as well. So this is a thing you get the idea of how you could go about creating DynamoDB, something that we use a lot in a lot of our applications. Now in Azure, let's go to the table storage, and how does it look like? So for this in Azure, what you have to do is go to storage accounts. And in the storage account, what you could do is I could create a subscription here. I could create a storage account, and I could just create a test to YouTube. This one, and I'll just do a standard. I don't want GRS. I'll just use LRS. And it'll take a few seconds to have the storage account. But the reason I have to create a storage account is for me to show you the table storage. How does it work? So let it create, and I'll just come back once this is set up. Okay, so here we are. The deployment created, the resource is created. I can click here, I can go to the resource. Now in here, you see the data storage options, and this is where you see the tables. Now I can come here, and this is like a NoSQL setup. I could create a table, and I could say test to YouTube, and I hit OK. And if I do this, this is where I could have the option of providing like a setup here in terms of it can be a flexible setup for the database over here. And I can provide the access policy, the IAM setting for this table where the data could be stored as part of storage account. So now let's check out Cosmos DB. How does it look in Azure? So Cosmos DB is pretty powerful. Like it is a very powerful NoSQL. It is not just it has a lot of like a hooks as well as in place. Let's see how does it look like. Now this is where you see we have Cosmos DB for NoSQL, where you could have the traditional. This is a Microsoft native setup, but you also have the integration with MongoDB, And notice with MongoDB, you see there are others as well over here. You have for Cosmos DB for table for storage account, for Apache Gremlin, for Cassandra, for PostgreSQL. So a lot of the native options are already available. Cosmos DB, so Cosmos DB is a very powerful service, and sort of enterprise customers use this. In fact, it's so popular that a lot of, sometimes Azure does have capacity issues with Cosmos DB, is something just to be aware of. But I'm not going to detail. I think you get the point and how to go about spinning up the NoSQL instance in Azure. Now, in Oracle, okay, so here in Oracle, this is the service you choose. You could choose the NoSQL database option, and it's similar. You choose the create table, and you have the provision. It's similar to DynamoDB, where you have a simple input, you have a data definition language input. You could provide the provision capacity or on-demand capacity. Based on this, your pricing is going to change. If you don't have like a dedicated workload, you're better off choosing on-demand capacity here. The amount of storage, because again, that's going to dictate your pricing. What does your DDL look like? But you could just have a sample and it will automatically extend for you for the setup, and you could choose for the advanced options, and you could have the names, tags, and setting done as well over here. This is where, similar, you could have the table created. Pretty similar in all three clouds, but Azure, it has very much more. It has integration with other SQL services as well. And also the autonomous JSON database, let me show that as well. Yeah, so this is the autonomous database, right? Essentially, it's the NoSQL flavor of Oracle, and I can come here, I can create the NoSQL option here, and you see the autonomous, it's for database. This is the one I was saying. Now these ones, this is the one that could be the NoSQL option. This is the serverless option, where you could run autonomous database on SQL.serverless architecture. It's always free. You have the developer option, right? So you could have the setting as part of the setting. For the NoSQL, and I won't go get into details here. It'll be a pretty lengthy video, but I think you get the point for the NoSQL comparison. So now, for short, let's go to the next comparison point. So data warehousing. Now this is a big one. Data warehousing, wherein it involves consolidation and storing large volumes of structured data from various sources in a central repository that will support efficient querying, analysis, and reporting. So what are the options? Like this is where AWS, it has the native option of Redshift. It's a homegrown product of AWS. Databricks is a third-party product. It's a third-party company. Snowflake again is a very popular company for data warehousing. Azure, Synapse is there. It's a homegrown product. Databricks is again third-party. Snowflake is third-party. The reason I put it over here is just to provide that, okay, these two products are also supported on AWS as Azure. Oracle doesn't have the Databricks or Snowflake support. Snowflake is not you can't even deploy Snowflake on Oracle, but Databricks, if you want, you could have it on a VM, but you may not get Databricks support for that. So just keep that in mind. But nonetheless, Oracle itself has data warehouse, which is autonomous data warehouse, and MySQL HeatWave as well. So let's check it out, how each one looks like. So in AWS, what I'll do is I can go to Redshift here, and this is the data warehouse option for my just to leave page. So you didn't want to do serverless, it can get expensive, but you may want to try it out. It is a good option as well. It can be cheap as well. But click this, and you could choose the clusters here, and you could have the setup here, create a cluster. This is the traditional way of creating the cluster in Redshift. You provide the name here, and you could have the node type. Obviously, you want to choose a multi-AZ for high availability number of nodes, the stories that you want, and then you want to load sample data, the database configuration, the username password that you want to use. We want to use the custom managed key, as I've shown in many videos. You can check it out. The rules that should be there from the RBAC perspective, rule-based access control, the network security, which VPC it should be in, the security groups, who can access it, and all these. Wizard, you can simply follow. It's a thing complex as spinning up a cluster. And likewise, there is the serverless option also. You can check it out. You have the namespace, and it's a little simpler compared to the provision one, where you have, like you see, you have a fewer options here. But just keep in mind how your use case for using it. It's not that you should always use serverless. It depends on your use case and your cost basis. If anything, any questions or doubt, we also have consulting that we can guide your organization. So let us know, and we are more than glad to help you out. Let me just show you the Databricks option over here. And this is going to be from the marketplace, essentially. Yeah, so this is where you see you have these options here. You don't have the setting, but what you could do is you could go to the marketplace, and this is where the subscriptions could be there. And we'll have to look into, say, Snowflake. Yes, a Snowflake is there. You need to kind of get in touch with Snowflake, who will spin up the infrastructure on AWS, and it'll be a separate VPC. It wouldn't be part of the setting, but I thought it could be that we could be spinning up Databricks or Snowflake here, but just recalled that it has to be a separate VPC, and they would be the ones spinning it up. It's not that we can just go to here and spin it up out here. So let's then move on to the other one, which is like Azure, and I'll show the Synapse and Analytics. How does it look like? So in here, what you do is you come here and you type Synapse. There you go, Synapse Analytics. This is where again, this is a wizard that you choose, and you provide this option out here, and write the security networking. And again, this is like, once you do this, you will be able to have your data warehouse set up. Similar to, like over here, if I type Databricks, I may get something in the marketplace, right? But you see that you have these connectors, but again, similar over there, you have this Azure Databricks here. There you go. It's a little more integrated in Azure compared to AWS. You could have this setting here. You could create it, and that you'll have this option, right? So again, how it does need to be set up. Snowflake, I don't think it'll be an option here. You will have to reach out to Snowflake itself, right? You see here, Snowflake. Okay, there you go. It's a little more integrated compared to AWS. You can create Snowflake and go ahead and choose this option as well. So yeah, so now let's go to the OCI and check the option that is there. So this is the warehouse. You come here, you choose the autonomous data warehouse in Oracle, and you choose the create autonomous database, and you choose the compartment, what compartment you want, the display name, the database name. And this is there, I was showing the earlier for the JSON, but this is what you choose for. Data warehouse option, and again, you have the serverless as well as the dedicated infrastructure option. Similar to AWS, you could choose, and again, you want the free or developer option in here. And based on your application requirements, you can choose the right setting that is needed. And I think I already showed for Oracle HeatWave. If not, let me quickly show you. There. So this is where you see it's the HeatWave that they call it. And right, to create DB systems to store and analyze data for your applications. So similar to analytical app tool that you could use for your setup. And you could create a DB system that's based on MySQL, production, always free. You have this option here. And based on your setting, you can do the right configuration. So with this, like, we come to the end of this database service comparison. And I hope you were able to get a good understanding of the different options out there in each cloud. And you are able to choose the right cloud and the right service for your database applications. So please like, subscribe, share the channel, spread this knowledge to people who are interested in cloud computing, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there. And they can be also aware of the different offerings and make the right decision. With that, have a good day. Thanks.